It's working now, but what happens if the Y2K bug hits the hydro system and the power goes out? When it comes back on, there could be a surge, and that could damage electronics. And then there's the heat. What happens if it goes off and the pipes freeze and burst? Will your insurance cover the damage?
I have no idea, but I know I paid my insurance just a couple of days ago. So Y2K stuff, they didn't say anything. I know I'm protected for fire and burglaries and that sort of stuff.
Well, I guess it's something you should have looked at, I guess, for coverage. I don't think most people would know that. So I'm not too worried, though, about it. I know a lot about Y2K, and it doesn't concern me.
But you might want to check your policy.
Most insurance companies never, ever intended to cover Y2K in the first place. There's never been a premium charge for it. It's something that we all knew was coming and that we're all supposed to prepare for.
The Insurance Bureau of Canada says most policies have Y2K clauses. If your pipes freeze, insurance may cover the resulting water damage, but it won't cover the cost of repairing the pipes. And as for electronics, insurance will cover fire damage if there's a power surge, but it won't cover the cost of repairing or replacing items. Insurance generally only covers unforeseeable events like storms, but most people knew ahead of time Y2K could cause problems.
There's always that small chance that something might happen that's beyond everybody's expectations.
So just in case something does happen, the Insurance Bureau is suggesting that before midnight on New Year's Eve, you should unplug some of your electronics and appliances that you either aren't using or aren't considered essential. And also, insurance brokers are on standby just in case something does happen. Melanie Verhaeg, CBC News, Winnipeg.
It is the season for spending. This time of year there are more transactions than usual, but banks and credit unions are more interested in the activity this year. They want to see if people are withdrawing their money out of fear the Y2K bug will get it first.
Well, I'm not really worried about anything like that. I take one day at a time and that'll be it.
I always have a certain amount of cash on hand and that lasts me for the week and a half, so that's what I've done.
Quite frankly, I expect that the banks themselves will certainly be ready.
I think people are generally comfortable with the state of readiness that certainly the credit union system is in, and that's why we believe there isn't any significant change.
The Canadian Bankers Association says so far there isn't a trend of people rushing to the banks to withdraw their money, but it says the banks are ready just in case. The Bank of Canada has increased the amount of money it has in reserves by about 4 times. The Bank of Canada usually has $6 billion in reserve. This year it has $23 billion. If that makes you want to take out a pile of cash, the RCMP says don't.
Leave it in the bank. Don't bring large amounts of money to your home. You put yourself at risk and your family at risk of having someone trying to get their hands on that.
The bank is not going to run away, and if they don't have the record, I usually have my record.
Banks and credit unions say keeping your records is a good idea, and so is filling out your checks accurately. Some checks have 19 as part of the date, which means you would be writing checks for the year 1900. All you have to do is make the change and initial it. Joni Nicolo, CBC News, Winnipeg.
I'm Cameron McIntosh. They've been practicing for months.
Can you hear me better now?
Now, with just hours to go, the province's Y2K Emergency Command Center is bracing for the bug to bite.
I feel very confidently it can deal with whatever we're confronted with.
The city of Winnipeg says all of its services are ready, including its hydro, a sentiment echoed by Manitoba Hydro.
Please enter your personal security code and press
Canadian
OK.
banks say they're set. And as for the phone, MTS says you will get through.
We have sites throughout the province, and so we have to be prepared at any time. We are a 7-day-a-week, 24-hour-a-day operation, so we have backup plans in place.
This is a satellite device.
Still, the Premier is relying on a special phone, just in case. He's also put himself and half his cabinet on standby.
I think we've done everything to get ready, but that simulating and experiments are not the same as the real thing.
And if the real thing gets real ugly, the Premier has some options.
Okay, what I put here is the time it's as current as off.
The Canadian Armed Forces are on standby.
It's mostly aid to humanitarian assistance.
generators. A lot like you saw in the flood or the ice storm, going into areas that are cut off.
While time is the issue here, time also works in Manitoba's favor. That's because we're in one of the last time zones to change over. So when the clock strikes 12 here, most of the world will already be in the year 2000, giving officials here in Manitoba a good idea of what to expect. Cameron McIntosh, CBC News, Winnipeg.
From one end of the world to the other, 1 hour after the other, the festivities sounded. Indoors and out, Y2K was celebrated, and it seems the computers cooperated. Today it was back to work and computers were back in business. Stock markets in Asia, Europe, and New York all opened without a hitch. Powerland Computers in Winnipeg had extra staff on standby just in case of a Y2K crisis.
We had not one phone call all weekend. And this morning things are very normal. We've had the usual calls of this or that down or needing this, but nothing related to Y2K.
That doesn't mean we're totally in the clear. Government and many business workers have yet to return to work. The head of the Year 2000 project for the province says it would be naive to think things will be completely problem-free.
There's certainly going to be some glitches, and the expectation is those glitches are going to cause minor inconveniences. But they're not going to cause have any serious impact on either the well-being of citizens or the services that the government or healthcare facilities provide.
Powerland expects most problems can be fixed quickly.
When it comes to little things, we're going to see them for a couple of weeks. I would say software things like you only do a certain thing once a month or once a week, and you go to try it and it doesn't work like it did before.
This Y2K analyst says preparing for the worst paid off.
I get the feeling sometimes that people actually wanted nuclear power plants to explode so that we could justify that we've spent some money on Y2K.
Now that computers have made it through Y2K, can they come through the leap year? Some computer software may not recognize February 29th. Joni Nicolo, CBC News, Winnipeg.